Good morning. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Sunday. Happy Sunday. Wait, music. Happy Sunday and just really blessed. Feeling really blessed to be here. All the things are happening in my life. Just very, very grateful, and I want to extend that out to everyone, my gratitude, and let that be infectious for everyone. And I want to open today with something from Marianne Williamson's book, A Year of Miracles. And this comes from a brother of mine who shared with me. He was in an ayahuasca ceremony, and the guy, the shaman in the beginning said, no matter what happens, do not use your phone, do not use any of those things. And in the middle of the ceremony, he heard, you need to sell all your Bitcoins. And so in the middle of the ceremony, he's like, oh, I'll do it later. He's like, no, you got to do it now. And he decided that he was going to do that. So he pulled out his phone in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony. I'm not sure how he was able to do that, but he sold all his Bitcoins during that time. And he ended up selling like way too early. But, he said it was a lesson for him of just not listening and listening to random voices and feeling ungrounded. So this was kind of a good one for me this morning as I flipped through this book, and it reminded me of that story. And so day 119, whenever I am internally still, chaos cannot move me. As I enter any worldly chaos from a place of internal peace, my stillness works to dissolve the chaos. I need not fear any turmoil in the world as long as there is peace in me. God's eternal peace is the ground on which I stand as I navigate the shifting sands of time. The world is always changing. The world is always changing, but God within me is changeless. I am loved, I am safe, I am blessed, and I am protected. As I look upon others and wish them those things, I will experience them in myself. Dear God, may my mind know peace and never waver. May my heart know your love and never deviate. May I find myself in you and you express yourself through me, no matter what occurs. Amen. I love everything that Marianne Williamson wrote in this book. It just feels really, really channeled and really represents, the truth that A Course in Miracles shares with us. And so for those of you guys that are joining for the first time, welcome. A Course in Miracles is a text that was channeled. And when I say channeled, there are moments in our lives where we feel completely connected and it's very clear and the message is download for us. So she channeled this entire book back in the late 60s, early 70s, when she was working at Columbia University, Helen Schuckman. And it was in a very intense environment during that time, as is a lot of work environments that we're in, right? Where people are talking about each other behind their backs. People will go to lengths to get ahead. Doesn't matter what the consequence was. So her and her colleague, Bill Thetford, really saw this happening and was like, there must be a better way. And in that question and in that thought of there must be a better way, that was the gateway to opening up this channel. So for us, when we are in those places of conflict and we are distressed or when we're confused, when we're angry, the question is there must be a better way. Because in saying there must be a better way, you are saying that I don't know. Up to this point of everything that I've experienced, if I knew, then I would do it and I would make the better way. But since I don't, I'm saying there must be a better way. And in that, we open ourselves up to the Holy Spirit to come to us. Now, not that the Holy Spirit needs to come to us or that the Holy Spirit was never here. It's just it allows our listening to change. Because most of the times, all of us listen and see with a lens. And even as I speak right now, my invitation is not to listen with a lens, not to listen with your previous connotations of yourself and of me or of A Course in Miracles, of anything, to allow yourself to say, what is it that is meant to come through for me today? Right? Being in the question. What am I supposed to hear today? We can set the intention of what we want to create and what we want to hear, but also let me be open. Let me be open to what I'm supposed to hear today. So we are in chapter 13. We have made it really, really far and not far at the same time. It's chapter 13, section 2, the Guiltless Son of God. And, I think last week I had started to post about the guiltlessness and the invulnerability of all of us, of the child of God, of the Son of God. And someone had messaged me and goes, I don't really understand what that means, right? Because most of us have grown up around the influence of Western religion, and it's pretty dominant in the world. Most religions, besides maybe a couple Eastern religions, where we have to redeem ourselves, right? Actually, even in the Eastern religions of, karma, there is something that we do that requires us to redeem ourselves or redeem our karma. And so we live in this world, and I believe that all the conflicts, whether it be in relationships or in wars between nations, it is stemmed from this unworthiness conversation. And the Course actually talks about the Course actually talks about how we are innocent, and we are more afraid of our innocence than we are of guilt and shame, which is really interesting, because guilt and shame reinforces our ego, which reinforces our stories, which reinforces our vulnerability and our lack and our not enoughness. So we actually protect that which we think we are getting rid of and wanting to get rid of, but wanting to get rid of it actually grows it, because it's actually saying that it exists. Just like shame and guilt and fear exists. Now, in the world, yes, these feelings, they reveal something for us. Not that they're not valuable to a certain extent, but the goal for us as we read A Course in Miracles and as we're going into this section is to remember, the Course reminds us that we are not guilty, we are not broken, and we are not in need of punishment or fixing. We're not trying to become worthy. We are remembering that we already are. And in remembering that we really already are and trying to fix something and become worthy is completely different. I always say that the mastery of worthiness, the mastery of darkness and shame and guilt, to master those things is not the same as mastering love. It's actually completely upside down. If we believe in where our attention goes, energy grows, or that grows, then to master, when we say we want to master our shadows and our darkness and all the things that are wrong with us and fix those things, what are we actually saying? What we're actually saying is that thing is real, and as I try to fix it, I actually just make that thing bigger. I grow it bigger in my consciousness. And so it just infects all of my other thinking. It grows, and it starts infecting everything. Because we must find evidence around the world to reinforce that thinking. So the very thing that we are actually trying to fix that was never broken at all, we must continue to find evidence why it's broken. Now, to flip this on the other end is the mastery of love, which is to see what really truly exists in reality. And this is why I love A Course in Miracles, because it reminds me to stop chasing and fixing and start accepting and surrendering. The idea that we are already worthy, to remember that. To remember our innocence, to remember our invulnerability, that requires us to surrender and let go of the stories that we've always held, the traumas we've held, the needing to fix, the needing to be in control of things. Because there is no such thing. To try to be in control of life, control of this life and death, that is insanity. So that's on the high level. Right? Now, what do we do here on earth? Because we are here. We are here in this dream. If we are here in this dream, what is it that we should be doing? So the Course also has a direction for us for that. If it does not bring you joy, something is off. If you are not experiencing joy, if you are not laughing, something is off. The guiltless Son of God is not just an idea, it is your true identity. It's a part of you that has never sinned, the part of you that has never separated from love, never left from God, never left heaven. And so no matter what mistakes you make here, you are always redeemed. It's like this the parable, the story of the Prodigal Son, where I've heard a couple versions, but there is two brothers, and one brother decides he's going to leave home with his fame and his wealth and all that, all the stuff. And he was going to go out and explore the world himself. And he found himself being tempted by all the things of the world, and he threw his money away, and he committed all the sins, and he built a lot of shame and guilt. And at some point he was sleeping with the pigs, and he was thinking back to home because he had lost everything and he just felt so unworthy. And there are so many people in our world actually that feel that. I was talking to a buddy of mine last night, and he goes out and he actually has conversations with the homeless out here in Vegas. And he said that one guy, genius. He was some kind of engineer, and his mind is super sharp still. But making a lot of money, and then he got into a car accident. He was driving, and his whole family died. And so ever since then, he started drinking, and he started getting on heroin. And every day, his only mission is to end his life. But he doesn't have the will or the drive to jump off a bridge or to kill himself in a way that he kills himself. So he's trying to overdose. He's like, every day, my goal is to get enough money so I can get enough heroin or drugs so that I can overdose. And he's like, I've tried it so many times and I cannot overdose. So like the punishment we put on ourselves, that's us doing it. Right? So he thought about, and back to the story, thought about even the servants back in my father's home lives better than this. Have food and have shelter. And so one day he finally decided that he was going to go back home. Enough is enough. This is what the Course says. Our tolerance for pain and suffering and self-doubt and all of that is very high, but it is not without limit. At some point, you will ask for God to come back, or for you to come back. And so he returns home, and expecting that his father is going to shame him and guilt him and punish him and yell at him and disown him. He's like, Father, I am unworthy. I'm unworthy of your love. I'm unworthy of being your son. and from a distance, and his father just came out with joy and excitement and celebration. My son has finally returned, and with so much love, and wrapped him with the blanket, and welcomed him home. And that's the remembrance of the love. And then the other son says, "Father, I've been here the whole time, and I've been doing all the things, and I've been all doing all the right things, and why is there not a celebration for me?" And he goes, "Well, uh, all that I have is yours. Your younger brother was lost, and he has been found. And that's something worth celebrating." So the Course is basically telling us the same thing. It's a really beautiful story, and it's for us to remember our Father. When we remember our Father, when we remember the Father, we remember that we are worthy. We remember our worthiness. And so the whole point of A Course of Miracles is to teach us that, this innocence, that you've always been loved. There is no distance that you can travel, and nothing that you can do that you cannot be redeemed. In our world, it's very strange because we think we're always trying to earn this back. We always need to earn it. And so we're actually more afraid of our innocence and guilt, or our Father's love, than this idea of needing to become saved. So yeah, returning to innocence. This is our section here, is to remember who the guiltless Son of God is. So that's the opening, and as we remember who we are together in this space, we become a safer space for others. And I'm also really excited that my babeski's here. Love is here. So today is definitely a really great day. Anybody want to share anything? We'd love to hear what your thoughts this morning is about what we've just talked about. Right? Does it challenge your perceptions, or do you accept that very easily? Right? Do you accept the fact that you are innocent? And if you accept the fact that you are innocent, is everybody innocent? Or is there exceptions? Or share anything that you want about your week, your aha moments. What is wanting to be in this space? What is alive today? Nice. Well, we shall start to read. Why don't we start to read early today? Let's switch it up, and we'll start to read, and then we'll see if that evokes any conversations. Oh, Crystal, go ahead.
Hey there, how are you?
Hi.
Kind of hard to share. I was driving, so I just pulled over. But everyone obviously has their own unique journey and circumstances and resonates with these words in their own way, which is, as you said, the highest good for them, and however we're open to receive.
Hmm.
In my personal circumstance and the way I perceived it was that. I am on this mission to cure myself from diabetes, as you know.
Right.
And the as you were saying, the more energy you put to trying to stop or cure or overcome something, the more further it kind of gets away. And what really touched me with these words today was something that I learned from flying all the way to Nepal, of course, with so many other things, but many, many thousands of dollars later, is that it's just about the acceptance of it,
Mm.
right? And not the pushing it away and rejecting, and that's creating just more suffering of it. And so it's just that love and acceptance of I am perfect, whole, and complete, even with this disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to share that because your words just reinforced that understanding. And it's not a new understanding, but I have shifted my perspective on it personally with a very intimate relationship with my body and the disease that I
Yeah.
hold. So
Amazing.
thank you for that.
Uh,
It was a beautiful, beautiful, really, really beautiful reminder.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I think also, you know, even the disease, right? Like the idea that it's still just like a disease and I need to cure from it. Um, there might be something in that, right? I mean, we have to truly know that it's a gift and it was given me not by accident, but why was it selected for me, right? And as we start to see the gift in it, and what are the blessings in my life as a result of that? Maybe I'm more present to my body and whatever it can be, as we start to see it as a gift, perhaps it can change, right? I don't have a disease, quote unquote, like that, but we all have some form of things that we want to change, whatever that be, right? Whatever level that could be. And so can we see that? Because ultimately at the end of the day is to recognize that, how do I remember my soul, right? My soul does not have a disease. My body has a disease, but if I am not my body, then what am I? And then what is this disease, quote unquote, right? So,
And it takes me back to a moment that I was doing ayahuasca where I was in the in it, and it was all about this particular moment was all about the ego,
mm-hmm,
right? And breaking the ego. And when you're in ayahuasca, you have that tendency to purge, right? And my whole body wanted to purge. I felt the sensation and I wanted to, and my mind wanted to and desired it so bad that I was even trying to force it to happen. And I was in so much agonizing pain. But the moment, and this was the whole lesson, the moment that I surrendered to it and I told God, God, I will live with this feeling, live with this suffering and this pain for the rest of my life. I accept it fully. And I'm talking about we're 8 hours in, right? In
yeah,
this moment, I finally was able to purge, and it taught me a big lesson. It's not about fighting or forcing or trying to make it happen, control. It's just about relinquishing everything and surrendering and accepting fully. And so that comes back into circle when I think about your words and also the diabetes. So
yeah, that's really beautiful, and I remember your words about your story that you shared with somebody about living with your diabetes and the life that you live, and a year later or something that she calls you and texts you back and say, my kid is diagnosed with diabetes, and because of your story, because of your share, I have hope. You've actually just given somebody hope, like, oh my God, how big of a gift was that? To be able to go through what you went through and still overcome the challenges and live a beautiful life. And now this mother has hope and is not going to project all the shame and guilt and fear onto the child, right? Because that's what it is. A child's like, oh yeah, I have diabetes. Okay, cool, fun, right? It's only the fear that infects them, right?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Just
So
about reminding me to remember that on a daily basis.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the more we focus on these things, right? The more we focus on these stories for ourselves too, the more that grows and we see the impact of it. And all of a sudden it becomes a gift. And the healing is not physically need to having proof to heal something. The healing is my mind shifting and changing the idea about that. And so as we share, that story and that experience, thank you, Crystal, where else can we bring that to? Where else do we hold shame, hold guilt, hold blame to something where it's really holding us back? We can't even say, who do we have that for? And can today, as a result of being on this call, can we make a decision about something? Can we decide on something? Decide to kill off something. Can we decide, we make for certain it's done? I will no longer carry this. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What else? Anybody else want to chime in from that conversation? So again, to kind of recap a little bit of what we talked about here already in the course is the atonement, actually. The atonement is the undoing. The undoing of our stories, the undoing of the shame and guilt that we've carried, the attack and judgment that stems from the shame and guilt that we carry, right? And living out of fear and making decisions out of fear, making all our choices from a fearful place. I don't want to make a mistake. I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid that I'm going to be successful. There's so many things that we're afraid of and we let fear carry us. But when, like in the beginning, when we read A Year of Miracles, is when I am still, when peace is within me, nothing outside shakes me. The decisions that I make are not from a place of fear. It's from a place of certainty and being grounded and remembering who we are. So, yeah, as we read and begin chapter 13, section 2, let's invite ourselves to be open enough to let the Holy Spirit speak to us. Let's listen with our spiritual ears. Our spiritual ears, so just imagine your spiritual ears is the listening with no judgment. No, and not just judgment as in something bad, but judgment could be comparing. Judgment could be, do I agree or disagree with it? So let's see if we can open ourselves enough to listen from a space of nothingness, of neutral. Okay, so chapter 13, section 2. And just allow yourself to let any downloads to come to you too. It doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to have any breakthroughs. You don't need to understand it, know every single word, because there is a knowing beyond all understanding. That knowing comes from removing the blockages to the awareness of love. All right, so chapter 13, section 2, the Guiltless Son of God. And again, for anyone that is new listening, the Course uses masculine languaging, but every time the Course puts he or son, it's in capitalized letters. That means it's beyond gender as well. All right, so you can replace it with child. You can replace it with she or her if you want to, or the daughter of God, whatever you want to do with that. It's beyond. Okay, so the Guiltless Son of God. The ultimate purpose of projection is always to get rid of guilt. Yet, characteristically, the ego attempts to get rid of guilt from its viewpoint only. For much as the ego wants to retain guilt, you find it intolerable, since guilt stands in the way of your remembering God, whose pull is so strong that you cannot resist it. On this issue, then, the deepest split of all occurs. For if you are to retain guilt, as the ego insists, you cannot be you. Only by persuading you that it is you could the ego possibly induce you to project guilt and thereby keep it in your mind. So remember the law of expansion, the law of giving and receiving is that as you give, you shall receive. To keep something is to share it. So even though we think, oh my God, well, if I give $1, then I have one less and you have more. It's the ego uses it the same way, but the ego just doesn't want you to know that it's doing it. That's the forgetting part. It's like, if I give you something, then I have less of it. You see, if I give you my watch, I don't have my watch anymore and you have my watch. So if I give you my guilt, then I don't have guilt anymore and you have it. If I give you my love, then I am sacrificing what I want. But really, all that's ever happening is as you give it, as an idea is shared, it grows. See, when love is truly shared, it should grow on both sides. You should never feel like you have to give or you have to receive in order to give. Every time we do the giving and receiving as separate, we are reinforcing separation and guilt. So part of what we do here twice a week on A Course in Miracles is to remember the unity, to remember the oneness. That at the end of the day, do you want suffering or do you want peace? Because every thought and every action that you take and every word that comes out of your mouth either expands the ego or expands God. And that's up to you. And so whatever resistances we ever have to A Course in Miracles or to our brothers and our sisters is that we are expanding the ego. And the ego leads to suffering. The ego leads to pain. So which is it? What do you think you want? What do you really want? That's the question for every one of us. You know, every time we withhold love, every time we judge, every time we attack, we are losing the sight of our home, of heaven. So, yet consider how strange a solution the ego's arrangement is. You project guilt to get rid of it, but you're actually merely concealing it. You do experience guilt, but you have no idea why. On the contrary, you associate it with a weird assortment of ego ideas, which the ego claims you have failed. Yet you have no idea that you are failing the Son of God by seeing him as guilty. Believing you are no longer you, you do not realize that you are failing yourself. The darkest of your hidden cornerstones holds your belief in guilt from your awareness. For in that dark, the secret place, is the realization that you have betrayed God's Son by condemning him to death. You do not even suspect this murderous but insane idea lies hidden there. For the ego's destructive urge is so intense that nothing short of the crucifixion of God's Son can ultimately satisfy it. It does not know who the Son of God is because it is blind. Yet let it perceive guiltlessness anywhere, and it will try to destroy it because it is afraid. So the ego is like so afraid that we will realize that the ego doesn't actually exist, that we remember who we are. So everything is the crucifixion of the Son of God, or is to get there, right? Because ultimately that will create the most judgment, most shame, most amount of guilt, which would hide ourselves from ourselves. Much of the ego's strange behavior is directly attributable to its definition of guilt. To the ego, the guiltless are guilty. Those who do not attack are its enemies, because by not valuing its interpretation of salvation, they are in an excellent position to let it go. They have approached the darkest and deepest cornerstones in the ego's foundation, and while the ego can withstand your raising all else to question, it guards its one secret with its life, for its existence depends on keeping this secret. So it is the secret that we must look upon, for the ego must protect you against truth, and in its presence the ego is dispelled. In the calm light of truth, let us recognize that you believe you have crucified the God's Son. You have not admitted to this terrible secret because you would still wish to crucify him if you could find him. Yet, the wish has hidden him from you because it is very fearful, and so you are afraid to find him. You have handled this wish to kill yourself by not knowing who you are and identifying with something else. You have projected guilt blindly and indiscriminately, but you have not uncovered its source. For the ego does not want to kill you. If you identify with it, you must believe its goal is yours. I have said that the crucifixion is the symbol of the ego. When it was confronted with the real guiltlessness of the Son of God, the God's Son, it did attempt to kill him. The reason it gave was that guiltlessness is blasphemous to God. To the ego is God. And guiltlessness must be interpreted as a final guilt that fully justifies murder. You do not yet understand that any fear you may experience in connection with this course stems ultimately from this interpretation. But if you will consider your reactions to it, you will become increasingly convinced that this is so. So think about your reactions or your thoughts to what is being shared right now. This course has explicitly stated that its goal for you is happiness and peace. Yet you are afraid of it. You have been told again and again that it will set you free, yet you sometimes react as if it is trying to imprison you. You often dismiss it more readily than you dismiss the ego's thought system. To some extent, then, you must believe that by not learning the course, you are protecting yourself, and you do not realize that it is your guiltlessness that can protect you. The atonement has always been interpreted as the release from guilt, and this is correct if it is understood. Yet even when I interpret it for you, you may reject it and do not accept it for yourself. You have perhaps recognized the futility of the ego and its offerings, but though you do not want them, you may not look upon the alternative with gladness. In the extreme, you are afraid of redemption and you believe it will kill you. Make no mistake about the depth of this fear, for you believe in the presence of truth, you might turn on yourself and destroy yourself. Little child, this is not so. Your quote-unquote guilty secret is nothing, and if you will but bring it to the light will dispel it. And then no dark clouds will remain between you and the remembrance of your Father, for you will remember his guiltless Son, who did not die because he is immortal. And you will see that you were redeemed with him and have never been separated from him. In this understanding lies your remembering, for it is the recognition of love without fear. There will be a great joy in heaven on your homecoming, and the joy will be yours. For the redeemed Son of Man is the guiltless Son of God, and to recognize him is your redemption. Our redemption lies in our ability to recognize our brothers and sisters as the guiltless Son of God. That is super interesting. That's what the Course says, right? This is the same idea of giving and receiving, of having and being, of giving and being, all united into one place, meaning that sacrifice cannot exist. And if sacrifice cannot exist, then what are we afraid of to unconditionally give and love to somebody else? And the next section of the Course that we're going to get into on Wednesday, I actually really love this. It's the fear of redemption. And we talked about that just kind of briefly today, is like, why are we afraid of love? Why are we afraid of redemption? And it's in the presence of truth. You may turn. See, we're afraid that in the presence of truth, we may turn on ourselves and kill ourselves. And I love when the Course gets so extreme with murder and killing. Because we are really, that's where the ego eventually, that's where it ends, with the death of the body. The death. Death is the ultimate evidence that the ego exists and that the body is separate and that we are our bodies. And so we forget truly who we are. And so if just for moments on these calls that we can remember, just grab glimpses, the spark, right? Most of us have just a spark that we need to nurture, to grow that spark into the flame of remembrance. So, yeah, thoughts? Anything else opening up? Anyone want to share anything? Okay. Well, I wanted to today I don't know if I did this last week already, but I took my job, and so we are looking for an office, and I'm pretty excited about it. And so I want to give Cam a shout out again for, the work that he did. And it's definitely a gift. Maybe next week or something, I'll invite him to share this process or share something about it on our call here on Wednesday. Everyone that has, for a second, I thought he just joined the Zoom. It says Ken. So Cam, Kam, he has really a great process that love endorses. I endorse. It really helped me open some things about myself. And the biggest part of it is I realize how much the work of A Course in Miracles actually has affected my life. Every one of my memories, every one of my thoughts, I was able to see this green DNA strand around all my stories. And it was like a protection. And it was this faith that I had. So beautiful. Oh, Babeski, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I raised my hand. This is a good segue
Okay.
because it is because of Cam and this conversation that, like, Of Course in Miracles has obviously always been really near and dear to my heart, and I've utilized Marianne Williamson quite a bit. But talking to you about that, it was so just kind of a remembrance and something to share. Was a realization that I had about Alex in comparison to myself or other people, where we talk about breakthrough. And me personally, I think that growth being one of my top 6 human needs, it's such an important thing. And my breakthrough looks so different to Alex's. And sometimes when we compare, it could be really difficult. And sometimes my breakthroughs can be like, there's a wall, and my breakthrough is literally punching one brick, a singular brick through the wall so I can see on the other side. Where Alex seems to bulldoze through that wall, and then God cleans it up with no rubble. And like, it's okay if you're that person who has a wall and are taking it down brick by brick. And that there's a possibility that A Course in Miracles absolutely, I think, through the comprehension and understanding, not just the practice or the listening to A Course in Miracles, but a true, isness of the Course in Miracles. And
Isness.
I hope that perhaps one day too I can dream DNA strand A Course in Miracles around my story. But what's super interesting is that all of the work that I have done has put me in that space with Kim to be like, I really thought I dealt with that thing. Like, I'm surprised that I had the emotion I had against this thing, because I don't, in my consciousness, I hold no ill will. I hold no energy. Like, for example, with my father, like, I have a great relationship based on my own standard with my dad, and historically what we've had and what we've been able to achieve now. And it doesn't stop the fact that, like, I go into a session with Cam and I'm on session number 3, still looking at my dad. And, like, that's okay. That's okay. Where Alex has, like, super fast tracked all 6 of Cam's sessions into 1, I'll probably be doing 12. But yes, totally appreciate Cam's work.
Yeah, love it. Thanks for being on and sharing, Babeski. That was beautiful. Yeah, anybody else want to add to that? And I'm so glad that she's here, right? Isn't everybody so glad she's here? We're doing really, really great. Our communication has been like next level, and I'm not going to put this on Cam, but definitely after his session with with Love, a lot of our stuff that needed to come up had to come up too. So it was pretty beautiful. You guys, most of you guys have heard and seen my process, and yeah, I'm very grateful for it. I definitely am feel like I understand the Course of Miracles even more now. It's deepened. It's kind of like penetrated further into the core being of myself, and love it. Any other thoughts? Jay, hello.
Hi. You said something very profound about you're either elevating the ego or you're elevating God, and you don't have to necessarily even believe in God to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're acting from love, that is God, whether you acknowledge God or not, because He created you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in terms of also the death, I have seen that people have a bigger fear of success than they do of failure,
Mm-hmm.
because failure is familiar.
Mm.
You know what you think you know what your limitations are, or you think it can predict what will happen because of what's happened in the past, and that's the very thing that keeps you back. So the thing that has to die is your present identity to step into what God intends you to be.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and I love that too, because, and this is really interesting. I don't know why this is coming up, but Elena Cardone wrote a book that she said, you're either building your empire or you're destroying it. Right? And that's what I love about the Course, is it's either love or fear. And so when we realize all of our actions, there is no neutral. On one level, on the Spirit, God, Holy Spirit level, everything is neutral. There is no good and bad. But for us here on earth, are we moving every day towards our goals? Are we moving every day towards peace? There is no, you're never standing still. Every word, every thought, every action, everything you do, you are moving either towards remembering your greatness or remembering your innocence, or you're moving away from it. You're either moving towards that you are worthy of love and abundance and everything, or you're moving away from it. Every decision that you make based off of fear or love moves you in that direction. Every time you make a decision out of fear, it moves in the direction of the ego and all the teachings and everything that comes with it in that, which is scarcity and fear and doubt and judgment and attack and shame and guilt and attack and being defensive, right? Defensiveness is one of the best ways that we can see in which teacher do we listen to. We can literally do nothing, no more than just being aware whether we are defensive or not. At any point, you watch a movie, you watch the news, you read a Facebook post, Anything that comes up energetically that makes you want to be defensive, you have just looked at it from the place of the ego. Now, if you're like, great, cool, awesome, that's the Holy Spirit saying, yep, it is what it is. But we build barriers. We have built barriers around our hearts, our whole lives. And so love is not something that you have to earn and become worthy of, but just bulldoze through those walls or punch up the bricks out one at a time, whatever you want to do. But, and here's the thing too, there is not one or the other that's faster than the other. Because as you just bulldoze through walls, bulldozing and punching one brick at a time is really the same thing. Because we don't really know which way is faster. Because I could just be bulldozing through all walls. And then why would there be more walls to bulldoze through? But if you punch the brick out one by one, and once that whole wall comes down, you're already home. Versus me bulldozing through 1,000 walls. All right, so there's no, it's not a matter of time on a horizontal plane. It's a matter of that we are moving in the right direction for us. Because it's not how much energy you put into it. It's how much you're willing to surrender. So, yeah. What else? What else is feeling? Yeah, go ahead, Nelson.
Brother, thank you. I'm just doing some office stuff here while I'm listening to you. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Not more work, but surrender. That was like bam. So, and everybody shared today, from Crystal to your lovely wife. So thank you, brother. Thank you for doing your work. I honor you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Grateful. Always here. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I want to continue to reinforce this process from learning to becoming, right? We are all learning something. We're like, okay, we're learning because we are seeking this remembering. There's this process. How do we go from learning to becoming something? How do we learn about healing to become healed? How do we learn about forgiveness to become forgiveness? And so most of us are here, including myself. I do these calls because I want to understand the course better. I want to give it the time. I want to live it. I want to practice it because I am still seeking this remembering also. Because throughout the week, if we don't do A Course in Miracles, I literally, by the end of the week, I'm like an insane person. So I'm still in this learning, teaching, becoming phase right now. Of course, there are things that I have completely healed from. I have become healing in those areas. And so perhaps around my dad, my mom, and some of the past traumas and stories I've had before, I've become the healing of those things. So they don't bring up energies. And in those becoming, we actually can become that in other areas too, because now we have evidence. So we want to learn, we want to grasp and understand the concepts, and this could be anything else. I'm talking about A Course in Miracles right now, but you can put it, really as almost anything else too. Whatever you want to learn, more about your body, more about medicine, more about diabetes, more about love, about sex, whatever it is, more about money. Anything that you want to learn, we have this like needing to grasp more concepts. But the teaching itself, what we're really learning when we seek it, think about this. If I want to understand abundance, life is probably going to show us both ends of the spectrum. If I want to understand love, life is probably going to show us what life is like without and what life is like with. Because we are seeking to understand it. So what we seek, we receive. And that's where the journey really is for us, because learning is not the goal, right? I've said this multiple times, that learning is not the goal. We feel like if we learn more about it, if I have more knowledge around something, then that's the good thing in this world, right? That's where power comes from. I have power over my body and my illness. I have power over my finances. I have power over my love and my relationships. If I just learn more about it, more, and to collect more knowledge. That somehow, the more we learn, the more we're going to be prepared. The more that we will be in control, and the more that we will have something. But perhaps, if we think about what the ego wants with the accumulation, the more you accumulate, the more that you put on the altar, the less you are going to know what's what. Especially if another thing, like, oh, this makes sense, and you put that on the altar, and it challenges the other. And you're like, oh crap, I'm confused again. And that's what the Course says for us, is we just continuously put more things on there. It's just a way that the ego keeps us searching for something. Think about this. Whatever, we just keep searching. There must be new knowledge, new idea, new information. We chase the books, and then we get more courses, and we got to take more trainings and, more teachings. We just keep seeking. And how many years and years do we just run in circles chasing our tails? Thinking that if we just gathered more information, at some point, if we gathered enough information, we'll finally arrive. We will finally get to the place where we become healing, we become forgiveness. And maybe that's your path. Maybe that's what it takes. But that becoming is going to be that moment where you take the whole thing and you're like, yep, that's great. I did all of this. Now I can just chuck it out the door. Because I remember that I am not all these things. True wisdom, the Course says, true wisdom does not come from collecting more information and collecting more knowledge and adding more things to the altar. True knowledge comes from unlearning everything that is false, removing all the things off the altar. Anything that does not stand the test of truth with a capital T, beyond the body, beyond the ego, beyond attack, beyond judgment, beyond defensiveness, beyond all that. The more we can clear the space out, the closer we are to truth. The Essene, in the Essene Gospel of Peace I was reading and studying, I've been listening to it a lot, is that the further you are away from God, the more rules and regulations and guides and laws there are. And our goal is to remove those things. The ego thrives on the accumulation, more laws, more regulations, more this, just like accumulate and add more to it. We need more information. We need to understand it more. We need more techniques. We need more strategies. We need more money. So what the Course is teaching us is that true mastery is the shift from accumulating and learning to being. It happens when we stop the seeking, when we stop seeking and we become something. So learning is this, there is a phase, right? There is kind of this growing and becoming phase. First, we learn because we're seeking something. We're gathering the knowledge. We're trying to understand the concepts. We're making more, what's the word I'm looking for? Intellectual, see? I'm trying to find it in my brain. We're intellectually trying to understand something. Then we get to teaching, right? Because we're like, okay, I've learned it, and now I got to teach it because I'm starting to understand that what I learned, and in order for me to reinforce it and to learn it, I got to teach it. If I share with others, it deepens my own understanding. I am learning from my own teaching. See, teaching to the ego is like, now I am elevated. I am the teacher, you are the student. Anytime that you feel and experience this elevation, again, that's the ego. You know, and so this, when we finally have embodied and become it, we no longer are needing to remember something, because this love and this truth is our natural state. Our natural state. We're just like going back to our natural state. So is our natural state to learn everything? Is understanding love to point more things at love? Love is this. 8 billion different ideas of what love is. Is love to gather 8 billion different ideas of what love is? Or is love to remove all my ideas about love so that I can just be it? Because it is our natural state. The Course is bringing us back to the remembrance of our natural state. As you teach, you shall learn. And if that's true, then what you teach is teaching you. That's in the Course in Miracles. So first, we study love, we study forgiveness, we study A Course in Miracles, but rest assured that I am also in complete understanding that one day, this beloved book of mine, A Course in Miracles, that is probably the ego is also holding on to and figuring out how to use, will one day become unnecessary. That feels weird for me, but yeah. So, you know, the reason why I'm so passionate about this, and I think the results that I've had in my life around peace, to my stories and all of that, is because I'm so adamant on learning the Course right now. Right? And in some areas I may have embodied the work, but only pieces of it. I'm using the pieces that I've embodied to remember everything else. Because if I truly actually embody any part of the whole Course, then the entire thing will be embodied. Because there is no part of the whole that is not whole. Can I just be love? Be A Course in Miracles? No, probably not in my lifetime, this body lifetime. But we can have fun with it. If it ain't fun, if it's not producing joy, we should probably just not do it. Not judge against it, but just not do it. With no apologies, right? Okay. Anything? Did we evoke anything in this conversation? Is anybody else out there? Rick, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going, brother? Doing well. Man, I'm just kind of just taking everything in right now, man. I'm loving just kind of hearing what you have to say and how you break it down, and like it is just it's almost like the more that you talk, the more I realize of how, I don't know how do I put this, like emotionally unintelligent I am. I have spent so much time of just like learning and building and growing, but just like this part of my life has just felt completely neglected. And it feels like I'm literally starting from, level one, ground level, and just looking up and just seeing like, and it's starting, and some of the things that just seem so far off as far as what you're talking about. Now, I imagine you've been on this, and reading and exploring this side of you is just, it seems like, for such a long time. And I wonder, like, how in the world do I get there? Like, how in the world? I mean, this topic of just like of guilt of, and I don't know how this resonates, or if anybody's in this place right now of just me going back and examining my entire life and just realize that of how much guilt is there, and not only that, of just whether it be from familial influences or cultural influences of, I'm, for what it is to be a man, like that, as far as, being emotionally strong and not allowing anything to affect you. And all it's doing is just really piling up. All the things of life is just by ignoring it and acting like you're this strong person. It's just, all it is just piling up, becoming, ignored and just kind of festering. And to a point of just like what you're saying is just like allowed, and just this small amount of time just allowed me to kind of go back and realize how much that has been affecting and determining my life, how much that is affecting my confidence, how much that is just it's pouring into almost every part of my life, that I realize that now I'm realizing that more and more that is there, and I'm just kind of being vulnerable right now.
No, I appreciate that.
But no, I just man, I just appreciate even that light being shed on that. Now it's just like, what do I even do? And like, how do you even go to where of removing and realizing, and I mean, just being real is just like, or even like, and talking about fathers is just like, my dad had that same thing put into his life. Like, he was always raised to where he was not enough. And he was raised in like an abusive childhood, right? And it was just like, so he was always made to feel like he was not enough. And just the mere fact that, after going through all of that he was able to still raise a relatively, healthy family and healthy children, but at the same time, a lot of that being, inherited by me, and just, and he just couldn't help it, right? And so just like, it feels like this is like a generational level of guilt that I'm kind of dealing with, and just like, where do you even start? Like, how do you even like, I don't know that question, even if it's like too broad of a question, but where do you even begin in that, I guess, forgiveness and grace of your own self?
Yeah. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you. I appreciate you, making a vulnerable share like that. Like, as a man, to share something like that, in our world, like, it requires tremendous amount of courage. And also, for everyone that's in this space, that has been in this space, is, we've created a container that's safe enough for somebody to call upon their courage and step up. Right. So like, this is first kudos for everybody. And, just want to acknowledge this whole community as a whole, that we even allowed this to exist now in this moment. But what you're sharing too, every single one of us is carrying some sort of generational thing. But I want to touch upon where you are being compassionate and sharing about your dad, right? Because there's two ways we can take it. We can blame our dads, or we can blame our parents for my own mistakes and all of that. And all of my own traumas and my own stories of who I am is all because of you did this and you were this. We can do that. Or like what you did, which was to start being compassionate. You see that you allowed love to come into this space, right? Which, just by seeing your dad that way, you actually are healing your own DNA and stories around it, because you're breaking the chain now, right? Somehow the not worthiness and all of that has led to this moment where you're choosing worthiness, and you can break the chain. So all of that must have led you to this moment of awakening, and you could be so grateful for everything that and everyone that's involved up to this point. And that's where you start to break the chain. And the other thing that you said is, oh, where do I even start? See, this awareness, you have already started. You've never not started, right? This journey has all led to everything in our lives leads to the holy instant, which is that one moment of an awareness of love and awakening and forgiveness. And so it's not that I'm ahead or you're ahead. There's nobody. I'm not any further ahead of you than you are. Than that. You know. Like I'm literally on the. We're on the same exact path. There's just moments of awakening for us, and we are just walking this path together. Right? As you are willing to share, and as you share that, it reminds me, your journey and your story and what you share is healing all those around you, just as you are having those awarenesses. And our courage to share and speak it reinforces that, and now allows other people to feel safer and willing to share. See, like your share right there created two hands to come up. Right. And so I don't know where we're about to go with this, but it's always in these sharings that, you know, provides the most healing. So thank you for sharing that. And just know you've already started and you are recognizing and you're realizing and you're extending compassion to your dad and wherever else that flows into. Just lean more into that. Right. It's not a scary thing. It is scary on one level, but you are guiltless Son of God no matter what. Right? The Father, our Father is really always waiting with open arms. So regardless of how long we've been macho for, right? We can return to a softness and love and openness and vulnerability anytime. And knowing that's the true strength. The true strength is in sharing your vulnerability so that others may see and call upon their own light and begin to have the courage to share. So thank you for that, Rick. Cypher.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Oh, I don't know what I did to my screen, but anyways, hello, legends. We're all legends here because we're in this life as eternal souls.
Love it.
And thanks, Alex, for always doing this calls because the habit of just listening and just listening and just listening takes you to that place of being because we want to have, but we forget about being, and we're always going to be no matter what we have, and that's the most beautiful thing. And to listen to these spaces and to know that we're all on different levels, different journeys. We don't have to be anywhere. We're just perfect where we are. And being able to share with you, Alex, and the community is beautiful. So I just wanted to say that, a lot of people say, okay, instead of having, you need to be. And what is it really to be? And to be, it's to have this balance of a mind, body, and soul existence where you're just in peace and you know that everything is being done for you. We really don't have to do anything. All we need to do is have a clear mind, a grateful heart, and a full stomach. Those are the three things that we really need. And we can start feeling, being, and we're floating in this earth as we are traveling all around this universe. So it's a beautiful space to be in. I just wanted to share that and say that we're all in the same in a good space. We're all in a very safe environment wherever we are, and we must have more faith than fear. And we're all perfect. So thanks, Alice, for this space, and I'm always learning and growing. So
yeah,
I love you, brother. I love everybody in this space, and we're all legends.
Legend, you're a legend. Thank you for sharing that. Crystal.
Hey there. Okay, so Rick, thank you so much for sharing. and being vulnerable. It's just a beautiful reflection of the divine masculine rising and becoming in balance within that space. So it's very beautiful. Thank you. And one thing I just wanted to point out was that in that beginning set that you had mentioned, that it's just becoming new to you and you feel like you have so much work. It's as Alex pointed out about the walls, right? As he was knocking down the walls or punching, like love was punching one brick out at a time. There is no difference. And in the space of having that beginner's mind of almost not knowing anything and knowing that you don't know, that is in itself a beautiful place to to reside, and just to open up into that. You don't like we don't have to have years and years of studying the Course in Miracles, or to open up to this. It's so beautiful sometimes as that pure not knowing anything and just opening up into that, I don't know what I don't know, or I know that I don't know. And so I just wanted to share that. So, don't feel that you're behind, or anything like that, because that in itself would just be pushing it further away. Just even open up to just that, yeah, that pureness of not knowing. So, and again, thank you for sharing. It's a really beautiful reflection of the divine masculine opening up to being vulnerable.
Yeah. Thank you. That was beautifully shared. Anybody else? We have about 9 more minutes. So let's see. We've gone through a whole hour and a half here. So thank you all so much for, spending this time in this way with me, and really, really just feel so grateful for this call. It's like, it's the call I look forward to the most every week and really excited about. And so let's just kind of go through summing up today's talk. If you guys, unless anybody wants to share anything else, the guiltlessness as our reality, right? All right, Michelle. Yay.
Hi everyone. So I wanted to just share this. I've been trying to have 2025 be a time where I kind of focus on things internally for me. In my family, I tend to be the one that gives a lot, and always in the strong one. So some of the things Rick said, as a female, I feel kind of the same. So I've been like trying to be, I am patient, I am light. And I went out for dinner last night with a couple friends, and we started talking. Alex, I know you're going to know, and Jess is probably going to smile too, is we get on politics. And the thing is, I already have this belief that in the past, I'm not a good debater, and I understand things that I read, and it's really hard for me to then, convey them to others in the way that supports my position, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out to dinner, and I just kind of lose my shit. So I'm like, if there was some points, and I'm like, you must be like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you a fucking idiot? Stuff like that. Like, what am I doing? So then all I did is I approached something in such the incorrect way, but I'm still trying. But I'm also so focused on being. I am patient. I am light. I am compassionate. And in no time, I just blew it. And then it's like, I'm not winning anyone over. No one's going to change their mind. And then I looked like the bad guy in the table, And then it was just like, then I felt like I was like apologizing. And it was just like, and then I felt bad about myself. And I went down this hill, and it was domino effect. And I'm just like, okay, I can't do that. So then I get mad at myself that I'm not good enough of, articulating my views.
anyhow, so that just happened last night, and I guess I just needed to share that. And yeah, that was one thing. So I felt like in all this that I'm learning and practicing, I still am not getting it right. Like why am I doing all this? So
Hmm.
uh, that's what I wanted to share. So
Oh,
thanks for allowing that.
that's so beautiful. First of all, we can also just begin by laughing at our like the just the way we've done it, right? Like you've come to this awareness. I know you've been working with Maya Rose, and
Mm-hmm.
she must be putting light into you, and and so in the beginning, of course, we see the contrast of how we've shown up and where do we want to go. So there's a beautiful journey that you are on right now, and there's no I messed up again, and it's just I see my errors, and now it's just a course correction rather than punishment. But we go into punishment, right? So as we start to soften up for ourselves, it's really a lesson on self love, and then from there, it doesn't matter what conversation you're talking about. Like you're not going to bring shame and guilt onto yourself, and then you start to like instead of needing to be right, I don't need anyone. I don't need to win anybody over. My goal is to be more loving, so people because what's the point of winning somebody over, right? If we go down the path long enough, we just realize that that's not what we want. What I really want is to have a great time with my friends and the people we go out with, and from this loving space, when you can forgive yourself first, like this whole conversation is actually an opportunity for you to deepen your relationship with those people, right? Yes, politics was the first thing, but in that disagreement there is an opportunity for deepening. And that's what we really all want, is to be able to see each other beyond our political viewpoints and all of that. And so I know I bring this up a lot just to, you know, evoke some thoughts. Especially, I knew the moment that you shared and you brought up the P word that, Jess Electric's got her hand up now. So this is going to be great, but we don't have a whole ton of time. So, yeah, thank you for sharing
This
that.
will, this will be
Thank you.
brief, and this will be brief. And thank you, Michelle. I just wanted to share with you that yesterday I went to a memorial for my cousin. He did two tours of duty in Gulf at the Gulf War in Afghanistan, and ended up coming home and getting shot by some crazy guy in Pennsylvania. So we celebrate his life every year, and every year before I go to memorial, my sister warns me, do not speak politics. Do not speak politics because this is the whole Republican side of the family, and they're like passionate about it. I'm like, and it's so hard. I actually haven't gone for the past couple of years because it's just so hard not to. And yesterday I was there minding my business, not talking politics. And one of my cousins comes up to me, because everybody was talking about, I have family that's in finance and different things, and they're talking about the instability because nobody knows what's coming down, the
Oh boy.
tariffs and this and that. And I am like so biting my tongue because I know every one of them voted for this president. And I'm like, I don't want to say anything. Then one of them comes up to me and starts talking to me, telling me like, wow, this is like really crazy. He's Mexican. So he actually has lived everything we're living but in Mexico. And he told me, it's like, cuz, he says, I know I voted Republican, but this is really fucked up, man. And it was like, for like a few minutes, I was able to just like talk to somebody, talk to somebody that was actually, acknowledging and, the elephant in the freaking room, right? I'm like, listen, all I know is for the next 4 years, no TV, no social media, no nothing. I'm gonna act like when I was 16 years old that I didn't even know who the hell the president was and I didn't care.
There you
So
go.
for the next 4 years, I am like completely tuned off, and I'm like, listen. And for the rest, I told my cousin, I said, everybody better just buckle up now because this is the man we put up there, and there must be a lesson for all of us to learn over here. So for the next 4 years, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're in for a hell of a fucking ride. And thanks, Michelle. Don't worry, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get past this. We'll be all right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And I do believe there must be something.
Mm,
There's something good that's going to come.
there you
Absolutely,
go. All right.
absolutely.
Great job, guys. All right, Michelle, and then you will take us home with your last thoughts unless Brooke wanted to say something, because Brooke's always so enthusiastic about everything. I love
You're
it.
so funny. I saw what time it was, and you were saying at the end of the call, and I was just like, dude, Brooke, don't start. Because it was something, and I'm going to say because I'm on here, so fuck it.
Oh.
So, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Someone this Bluetooth and it's janky and they need to replace it. Okay. So, I could empathize because I had a conversation with somebody last week, and all they did was they shared this post and it resulted in a phone call, and the high level of it is this. I don't know if he's Chinese, Asian, Korean, I don't know what his background was, but he's somebody who was interviewing this older white gentleman on, hey, well, why you lead with facts and data and analytics, why would you vote for Trump? You know, and he's an influencer. He goes, why would you vote for Trump when he never talks about what he's doing for the people? It's like a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, and he just talks shit about Kamala and Biden, what everybody else is doing, and it's all like a narcissist mentality. I don't understand. And the response to this floored me so much that I had to listen to it 5 times, because this person who I actually am friends with, and now I'm second guessing their
Oh
views,
boy.
said this is why I voted for him. And the high level, y'all, is because he's like, listen, Japanese people have their own country. Blacks have Africa, Mexicans have Mexico, and America belongs to white people. There's so many immigrants coming in here. White people are becoming the minority. We're getting pushed aside. We are getting eliminated in this world, and we need to stand clean and get America, because this belongs to white people. And I was so floored, because it's like, bro, it comes down to education. If you really know your shit, natives found this, and some of our family are Native American. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. And I was like, this is why you voted for the Cheetos? Because you feel like white people are being eliminated by immigrants? You dumb fuck, and you're a female. You put a left leaf led with the voice of your own body and rights. It's just, but Brooke, I'm not racist or prejudiced. I'm friends with you and your family. You guys are like black, brown, and I'm like, you know what? You can go fuck all the way off.
Oh
This
man.
is why you got, girl, it was bad. So I was like, okay, do you, boo. Don't send me any of this shit that talks about white supremacy, white power, and then how white people are now the minority. Because you know what? It's fine. What will come, I'll stop. That's it. So when I saw that, I was like, Brooke, you probably could have handled that. I was like, you know what? Have a good day. Have a good day. I'm out.
Oh
But
man.
that's the thing, is you can't bring, and I've now told my friends and people, don't send me any, because I already follow red and blue. I follow the Candace Owens of the world and the Trumps of the world, but I also follow the Kamalas and the Baracks, because I'm for fucking humanity. Humanity. I will take a pay cut if there's fucking humanity in the world. And right now, it's not happening. And you'd be surprised how many people are so uneducated. Like, our family is Puerto Rican, Nicaraguan, Mexican. We have French and Spanish and Native. And it's like, and we have a little Puerto Rican flag in our car. And we're like, hey, where's your passport? Where's this? Where's that? There's like profiling everywhere, y'all. And if you go to UPS or a government, I went to mail school pictures, and I'll shut up. They now want passports, proof that you're a legal citizen of the United States of America, for me to send fucking school pictures. And I'm asking the girl, I'm like, hold on, be so for real right now. Like, is this a Texas thing? I'm from California. I'm getting used to this culture here, girl. Like, is this Texas? Is this like a United States of America? She goes, no, this is the political climate that we're in. And I was like, okay, cool. And the next lady was doing the same thing. She was just this cute blonde girl. She's like, I'm just trying to mail my kids school clothes. They weren't here for the holidays, and you want me to freaking provide you a proof of citizenship? I don't know what's going on in this world. I'm gonna shut up. But it's crazy. You can't bring up politics at the end of the call, and I feel that person who was a friend of mine, it definitely was not my best thing, because then she called me and she goes, but Brooke, because I just responded, don't send me that shit. Why are you even sending me this? And she goes, well, no, I just want you to know, Brooke, I'm not racist though or prejudiced. I'm friends with you and your family. I have black friends and brown friends. I just feel that if we want white people to make sure that we have I'm like, fuck all the way. You already lost me. I'm done with you. Don't fucking call me. And I don't want her. I couldn't. And that was not my best moment. And I'll stop.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. You know, you're good. You're passionate. It's great.
With Michelle, yes, humanity. And then the more I'm on these calls with you, it makes me more mad. I'm like, why don't people see you claim you're Christian? You claim that you're part of God. Did you not read the Bible? You obviously missed that part. We are all one, and we're all connected. You obviously just pick and chose wherever the F you want to read about. So don't tell me you're Christian. Don't tell me that you must obviously not read the Bible. Like, stop. I'm done.
All right. Well,
Sorry.
thank you for that share. That was a great. So Michelle is no, you're good. You're good. You're good. It's amazing. You know, like it's all part of this human game that we're playing. Like we get upset, we get defensive, and we pick sides, and then people that say things and whatever, and we have things around there, right? So the goal is to undo all of our judgments because do we really want to bring peace or do we want to bring more division into the world? Because the same division that they're bringing, we will bring by separating and segregating them. So all if we can meet everything with love, then we invite people back to what we really want. So we gotta lead the way with that. So
I
Michelle,
tell people I'm putting myself in timeout. I'm sorry.
no,
I'm
you're
going to be
good.
in timeout.
Okay. Well, you can time in whenever you want. Michelle, go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, I would love to touch on one thing real quick.
Okay.
With what Rick had shared and Michelle, with the awareness and the constant revelation of each of our lives, there is um, it's just like continuously going. It's like you're constantly being in your own revelation, and it's very powerful. And for me, for so many years, I was just kind of moving along the world, skipping along even through the challenges. And I found that recently I'm going through an awareness of guilt that I'm having for how long it takes me to move through things. So I
Mm.
went through a betrayal in like 2022, and I'm just finally like getting through it. And I've been like so guilty about how long things take. And in the process of deciding to heal my heart chakra, in the decision to heal more, my meditations and work that I've been doing in like the I am practice and constant awareness, I do my I am love, I am light, but I also have been going into like I am angry and I'm upset
Mm.
or I don't know how I feel, and I go into the light and love, but I also, and I bounce between it. So I've been going into also the I am angry and these other parts of things, and I have just been bawling my eyes out. Like these little facets of feelings that I didn't even acknowledge ever until this point has helped me so much to move into this next layer, next level. So I really appreciate the call today. Love you all. Godspeed.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for bringing us back to that. And here's the thing: we go back to the prodigal son story, and we're gonna just wrap it up here with that. Okay, Jay.
No, I'll be really quick. Thank you, Brooke, for saying that. And it's like yes, we are all one. And one of my mentors said, once we accept that there is a God, whether you follow any religion or not, religion is religion. That's really it has nothing to do with love whatsoever, nor does it have anything to do with Jesus because he came to abolish religion. But if in the Bible, even with AI, I thank God for AI. I think God gave us AI so we can get back to being human and recognize the line of where we leave off when we're technology and things that create barriers between other humans begins. So there's my point is there's a cross reference. You can cross reference, I believe, or someone should create it so that A Course in Miracles is also referenced to every single different translation of the Bible. Because I turn away from King James, but I go for the CSB, and I agree with Brooke. We don't read our Bibles enough because when we accept that there's a God and we recognize that love is greater than any kind of control, we give up our right to an opinion because the kingdom of God, not heaven per se, but if you call it whatever you want, is its own government, and we are stewards of the earth. So our right to exercise being stewards of love and stewards of the earth supersedes any politics whatsoever, and we can give up our the Bible exists and the Course in Miracles exists because Jesus had an opinion, and his opinions are superior to every other opinion. So if we know how to read the Bible or know how to look up a reference, be that A Course in Miracles or the Bible, whatever translation you want that resonates with you, Jesus has an opinion that we can use in our own to bolster our own stance on anything. That if it's done correctly, like you can't disagree with gravity any more than you can disagree with love. So there's a quote somewhere that says what Jesus would say and put it in your own language. That should just, if people don't take offense to it or think that their opinion is more important, that just tells you who you're dealing with and to shut up and walk away and go steward the planet.
Go steward the planet. I love it. So, I just want to wrap it up here with, thank you all for all your shares. And of course, we had a space to share all the way in the beginning, and we come all the way to the end, and now we got this rushed share, and it's beautiful and perfect, and I love it. Of course, politics brings it up. I always poke the politic bear. So all of it is to bring us back to the chapter today of the guiltless Son of God, right? So we use the parable from the Bible of the prodigal son, where he believed he was guilty, that he no longer even saw himself as a son, that he was comparing himself to the servants of the house. And what he was doing was he was actually projecting his own guilt and fear onto his father, right? Expecting rejection and punishment. So can we also recognize that our brothers and sisters out there and ourselves, we are projecting our own guilt and fears onto others? And if we were to be like the Father and like the Holy Spirit, can we respond differently than how somebody else responds? Right? So they expect rejection. They expect, this back and forth argument conversation, because that's what the ego wants. That's what the projection of the fear and guilt does. But can we respond in a way that it's like, whoa, it's a huge learning lesson. So when the Father in the story representing God does not see guilt, does not ask for penance, runs out and meets the Son the moment he returns. So the story is that every time we turn away from love, we feel guilt and we fear judgment. Like, that's just going to be what's going to happen. You can only see one or the other, right? But in truth, we cannot be rejected by love, and that God has never left us. Love has never left us. God doesn't need our apologies. He only needs our willingness to remember who he is and who we are. And in remembering who he is, we remember who we are. All right, so we are the guiltless sons of God. There is no error in us. And so can we, in today, just try to soften the error that we see in others, right? And the error that we see in ourselves. Just soften it. You don't need to let it go completely, but just, smirk at it, smile at it. Here I am, doing my thing. And God, show me a different way to look. Help me remember the innocence and the guiltlessness in my brothers and sisters. Right? That's it. You got to just have the willingness to ask. And that's all you need. So that's it. That's all, folks. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I really appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you guys all taking the time to be here. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Much blessings, much love. Bye, everybody.